My sister's stepdaughter was telling people my husband exposed himself to her in our bathroom during a family party. When I confronted her, she admitted she lied to impress her friends at school, so I told my family she was never welcome again. I, 28F, need to share what happened at my family gathering last month because I'm still processing how quickly everything fell apart. My husband Andrew, 32M, and I have been married for 3 years. We live in a small house about 20 minutes from my parents and most of my extended family. My sister Melanie, 33F, married Rowan, 38M, 2 years ago. Rowan brought his daughter Nina, 16F, from his previous marriage into our family. Nina's biological mother lives in another state and sees her maybe twice a year. When Rowan and Melanie got together, our whole family made a huge effort to welcome Nina. My parents invited her to every holiday. My mom bought her birthday presents and graduation gifts. I included her in our cousin group chats and made sure she had someone to talk to at family events. Nina seemed to appreciate these efforts at first. She would hug my parents goodbye and thank them for dinner. She helped my mom in the kitchen during holidays. She played board games with my younger cousins during family gatherings. Rowan was grateful for how we embraced his daughter. He told Melanie multiple times how lucky he felt to marry into such a welcoming family. My cousin Axel, 15M, is Melanie's son from her first marriage. He and Nina attended the same high school and seemed to get along well. Axel is quiet but has always been close with our side of the family. He spends every other weekend at my parents' house and considers their place his second home. Last month, we hosted a birthday party for my dad at our house. About 15 family members came over for an afternoon barbecue. Andrew spent most of the day cooking on our back patio and playing catch with the younger kids. Nina sat at our kitchen table with her phone for most of the party. She spoke when people addressed her directly but mostly kept to herself. Our house has 2 bathrooms. The main bathroom is down the hall from the living room. Our master bathroom is attached to our bedroom. During parties, guests always use the hall bathroom because the master bedroom stays off limits. Andrew and I keep our bedroom door closed during gatherings. The party went smoothly. Nina ate dinner with everyone else and said thank you when she left with Melanie and Rowan. Andrew and I cleaned up afterward and talked about how nice it was to have everyone over. Nothing seemed unusual or concerning about the day. 3 days later, Axel showed up at our front door around 4 in the afternoon. He looked pale and kept shifting his weight from foot to foot. He asked if he could come inside to talk. I brought him into the living room and offered him something to drink. Axel sat on the edge of our couch and stared at his hands. He said he heard something at school that he needed to tell me about. He said some of Nina's friends were talking about what happened at our party. According to what Axel heard, Nina told her friends that Andrew walked into the bathroom while she was using it. She claimed he exposed himself to her intentionally. I sat there for a moment trying to process what Axel had just said. The accusation was so ridiculous that my first reaction was confusion rather than anger. I asked Axel to repeat exactly what he heard. He said Nina told her friends that she was in the bathroom when Andrew opened the door without knocking. She claimed he stood there for several seconds before apologizing and leaving. The logistics of her story made no sense. Guests use the hall bathroom all day, and that bathroom has a lock on the inside. Andrew spent almost the entire party outside grilling food and supervising the kids in the backyard. When he came inside, it was to refill drinks or get more food from the kitchen. He never went down the hallway toward the bathrooms. I called Andrew immediately after Axel left. His reaction was pure shock. He asked me to repeat what Axel had said twice because he couldn't believe someone would make up such a serious accusation. We spent an hour going through every detail of the party, trying to figure out when this alleged incident could have happened. There was no window of time where Andrew was unaccounted for and could have been near the bathroom. I called my parents that evening and asked them to meet with Melanie, Rowan, and Nina the next day. I didn't explain the reason over the phone because I wanted to address this face-to-face with everyone present. My parents agreed to host the meeting at their house. The next afternoon, we gathered in my parents' living room. Nina sat between Melanie and Rowan on the couch. She looked nervous and kept glancing at the door like she wanted to leave. My parents sat in their usual chairs, and Andrew and I took the love seat across from Nina. I looked directly at Nina and told her that Axel had shared an interesting story about what she'd been telling her friends at school. I asked her to repeat that story for everyone in the room. Nina's face went red, and she started stammering about not knowing what I meant. I said that according to her version of events, Andrew had walked in on her in our bathroom and exposed himself. The room went completely silent. Melanie's mouth fell open. Rowan looked back and forth between Nina and me like he was trying to solve a puzzle. Nina started crying and said she never meant for anyone to take it seriously. She said her friends at school were always talking about inappropriate encounters with older men, and she felt left out of their conversations. She admitted she made up the story to fit in with what her friends were discussing. The reason she gave for destroying my husband's reputation was that she wanted to seem more mature and experienced to her teenage friends. She said she picked Andrew because he was the most recent adult man she'd been around. She claimed she didn't think the story would spread beyond her friend group. I stood up from the love seat and looked at Nina while she cried into her hands. I told her she was a liar and that her actions could have ruined an innocent man's life. I said that false accusations like hers put men in prison and destroy families. I told her she had risked my husband's career and our future together just to impress her friends. I turned to Melanie and Rowan and said that Andrew and I would never be in the same room as Nina again. I said this wasn't a punishment that would end after a few months or years. I told them that Nina was permanently banned from our home and from any events we hosted or attended. Rowan started to say something about Nina being just a teenager who made a mistake. I cut him off and said that 16-year-olds understand the difference between truth and lies. I said that someone capable of fabricating sexual assault allegations couldn't be trusted around my family. Melanie tried to argue that Nina had confessed and apologized. I told Melanie that an apology doesn't undo the damage of spreading lies about sexual assault. I said that Nina had shown her true character, and we wouldn't give her another opportunity to hurt us. My parents listened to the entire conversation without saying much. After I finished speaking, my dad told Rowan and Melanie that Nina was no longer welcome at family gatherings held at their house. He said they couldn't have someone in their home who would lie about such serious matters. The meeting ended with Rowan, Melanie, and Nina leaving in tears. Andrew and I drove home in silence. The next day, Melanie called to tell me that Nina would be moving back to live with her biological mother in another state. She said Rowan had decided that the situation was too damaging to their marriage and family stability. Axel has been staying with us for the past 2 weeks while Melanie and Rowan figure out their living arrangements. He said Nina's friends at school found out she lied about the whole thing. Most of them stopped talking to her after the truth came out. I know some people might think I reacted too harshly to a teenager's lie. But false accusations about sexual assault are not pranks or mistakes. They destroy lives and reputations. Nina knew exactly what she was doing when she spread that story. She made a calculated decision to sacrifice my husband's reputation for her own social status. Andrew and I are moving forward with our lives. We're planning to start a family next year and buy a bigger house. We have the support of my parents and Axel, who witnessed how cruel Nina could be. Our marriage survived this challenge because we faced it together and refused to let a liar divide us. Update 1. I received several messages asking for an update, so here's what has happened since my original post. Nina moved back to her mother's house in Oregon 2 days after our family meeting. Rowan drove her there himself and spent a week helping her get settled. Melanie stayed home with Axel during that time. When Rowan returned, he looked exhausted and seemed to have aged several years. The first week after Nina left was quiet. Melanie avoided calling me, and Rowan didn't come to family dinner at my parents' house like he usually did on Sundays. Axel stayed with us during this time and seemed relieved to have some distance from the situation. Then Melanie called me with some news that changed everything. She said Rowan had been having phone conversations with Nina every night since she moved to Oregon. During one of these calls, Nina admitted that the lie about Andrew wasn't her first false accusation. According to what Melanie told me, Nina confessed to Rowan that she had made similar claims about a teacher at her previous school in Oregon. That accusation had contributed to Nina moving to live with Rowan and Melanie in the first place. Nina's mother had pulled her out of that school and sent her to live with Rowan because the situation became too complicated. Rowan had never been told the real reason why Nina came to live with them. Nina's mother had only said that Nina needed a change of environment and would benefit from living with her father. Rowan assumed it was typical teenage rebellion or adjustment issues after his divorce. When Rowan called Nina's mother to verify this information, she confirmed that Nina had accused a male teacher of inappropriate behavior. The school investigated and found no evidence to support Nina's claims. Other students contradicted her version of events. The teacher was cleared of wrongdoing, but the accusation created enough drama that Nina's mother decided to send her away. Melanie said Rowan was devastated to learn that Nina had a pattern of making false accusations. He realized that our family had been completely right to cut ties with Nina. He also understood why Nina's mother had been so quick to agree to take Nina back permanently. This revelation changed Rowan's perspective entirely. Instead of seeing Nina as a confused teenager who made one bad decision, he now saw her as someone with a serious problem that could affect innocent people. He told Melanie that he felt guilty for not protecting our family better. The news about Nina's history also explained some things that hadn't made sense before. Rowan mentioned that Nina's mother had seemed unusually eager to have Nina live with him permanently. At the time, Rowan thought it was because Nina's mother wanted to focus on her new relationship. Now he realized that Nina's mother was probably relieved to have Nina become someone else's responsibility. Axel was not surprised when Melanie told him about Nina's previous accusations. He said Nina had always been dramatic and attention-seeking at school. He mentioned that she would exaggerate stories about her life to make them sound more interesting. He said some of his friends found her stories hard to believe, but they didn't want to call her a liar directly. Rowan decided to limit his contact with Nina after learning about her pattern of false accusations. He still sends her financial support and calls her once a week, but he no longer makes plans to visit her or bring her back for holidays. He told Melanie that he needs to prioritize his marriage and Axel's safety. This decision created conflict between Rowan and Nina's mother. Nina's mother called Melanie to complain that Rowan was abandoning his daughter when she needed support. Melanie explained the situation and told Nina's mother that Rowan had never been informed about Nina's previous accusations. Nina's mother became defensive and said the teacher incident was a misunderstanding. Melanie asked Nina's mother why she hadn't warned Rowan about Nina's tendency to make false accusations. Nina's mother said she hoped the behavior was just a phase that Nina would outgrow. She admitted that she should have been more honest with Rowan before sending Nina to live with them. The conversation between Melanie and Nina's mother became heated. Nina's mother accused our family of being cruel and unforgiving toward a troubled teenager. Melanie responded that Nina's lies could have destroyed Andrew's career and our marriage. The call ended with both women hanging up angry. Axel has been thriving since Nina left. He smiles more and seems more relaxed around the house. He told Melanie that he had been walking on eggshells around Nina because he never knew what would set her off. He said Nina would get angry at him for small things and threatened to tell Rowan that Axel had been mean to her. Rowan and Melanie have been attending couples counseling to work through the impact of this situation on their marriage. Rowan feels guilty for bringing Nina into our family without knowing her full history. Melanie feels frustrated that she defended Nina for so long without knowing the truth. The counselor has helped Rowan understand that he can maintain a relationship with Nina while also protecting his marriage and stepson. Rowan now realizes that being a father doesn't mean enabling destructive behavior or sacrificing other relationships. My parents have been supportive throughout this entire situation. My dad told Rowan that he respects Rowan's decision to prioritize his marriage and Axel's well-being. My mom said she hopes Nina gets help for her problems, but she stands by the decision to keep Nina away from our family. Andrew and I have been focusing on our own plans and goals. We put an offer on a house with 3 bedrooms and a bigger backyard. Andrew received a promotion at work, which will help us afford the new mortgage. We're looking forward to starting fresh in a new place. The situation has actually brought our extended family closer together. Axel spends more time with my parents now that Nina isn't around to create drama. Rowan has become more involved in family activities and seems more relaxed. Melanie and I have started having coffee together once a week to catch up without discussing Nina. Several people have asked if I feel sorry for Nina or if I plan to give her another chance in the future. The answer is no. Nina's pattern of false accusations shows that this wasn't a one-time mistake made by a confused teenager. She has a history of using serious lies to manipulate situations and get attention. I'm glad the truth came out before Nina had the opportunity to make more accusations against other innocent people. Our family is stronger and more peaceful without her in it. Update 2. I'm back with another update because the situation with Nina has taken some unexpected turns that I think people following this story should know about. About a month ago, I received a phone call from a woman named Ashley who identified herself as the mother of one of Nina's former friends. Ashley explained that her daughter Riley had been friends with Nina at their school in Oregon before Nina moved to live with Rowan and Melanie. Ashley said Riley had been following social media posts from Nina's current friends and learned about what happened with a false accusation against Andrew. Riley told her mother that Nina had made similar claims about other people while living in Oregon, including the teacher incident that Melanie had mentioned. According to Riley, Nina had also accused a male student at their Oregon school of inappropriate behavior during a school dance. Riley said Nina claimed this student had cornered her in an empty classroom and made unwanted advances. The school investigated this claim as well and found it to be false. Multiple witnesses placed both Nina and the accused student in different locations during the time Nina claimed the incident occurred. Riley told her mother that Nina seemed to enjoy the attention and drama that followed her accusations. Riley said Nina would get excited when talking about these incidents and would add new details each time she retold the stories. Riley eventually stopped being friends with Nina because she realized Nina was lying about these encounters. Ashley called me because she was concerned that Nina might make similar accusations against people in other locations. She said Riley felt guilty for not speaking up sooner about Nina's pattern of lying. Ashley wanted to make sure our family knew that Nina's behavior in our town wasn't an isolated incident. This conversation confirmed what we had already suspected about Nina's character, but it was disturbing to learn that her false accusations had affected multiple innocent people across different schools and communities. I shared this information with Melanie and Rowan. Rowan was horrified to learn that Nina's problems were even more extensive than he had realized. He said he felt like he didn't know his own daughter at all. Melanie said she was grateful that we had stood firm in our decision to cut ties with Nina. 2 weeks after Ashley's phone call, Rowan received a call from Nina's school counselor in Oregon. The counselor said Nina had been struggling to make friends and had been caught spreading rumors about classmates. The counselor asked if Rowan knew about Nina's history of making false accusations because the school wanted to address this pattern of behavior. Rowan was honest with the counselor about what had happened with our family and what he had learned about Nina's previous accusations. The counselor said the school would work with Nina's mother to develop a plan to address Nina's behavior, but Rowan should be prepared for the possibility that Nina might need to change schools again. Rowan told Melanie that he felt overwhelmed by the scope of Nina's problems. He said he had tried to be a good father by providing financial support and staying in contact, but he didn't know how to help someone who continued to lie and manipulate situations. The counselor that Rowan and Melanie had been seeing suggested that Rowan set clear boundaries with Nina about acceptable behavior. The counselor explained that enabling Nina's lies and manipulation wouldn't help her in the long run. Rowan decided to have a direct conversation with Nina about the consequences of her actions. During their next phone call, Rowan told Nina that he was aware of her pattern of false accusations going back to her time in Oregon. He said he loved her but couldn't continue to support her if she kept lying about innocent people. He told Nina that she needed to take responsibility for her actions and stop making up stories for attention. Nina became angry during this conversation and accused Rowan of choosing his new family over his biological daughter. She said everyone was ganging up on her and that nobody understood how hard her life had been. Rowan remained calm and told Nina that many people have difficult lives without resorting to false accusations and manipulation. Nina hung up on Rowan during this conversation. She didn't answer his calls for the next 2 weeks. When Rowan finally spoke with Nina's mother, he learned that Nina had told her mother that Rowan had been mean and unsupportive during their last conversation. Nina's mother initially believed Nina's version of events and called Rowan to complain. Rowan explained to Nina's mother exactly what he had said during the phone call with Nina. He told Nina's mother that he was trying to help Nina understand the serious consequences of her behavior. Nina's mother eventually admitted that Nina had been having similar problems at her new school in Oregon. Nina's mother said she was at a loss for how to handle Nina's behavior. She said Nina would cry and play the victim whenever confronted about her lies. Nina's mother asked Rowan if he had any suggestions for getting Nina help. Rowan suggested that Nina's mother consider getting professional help for Nina's pattern of lying and manipulation. He said Nina needed to understand that her actions had real consequences for innocent people. Nina's mother agreed to look into counseling options but said she was worried about the cost. Axel has continued to do well since Nina left. His grades have improved, and he has been more social with his friends. He joined the basketball team at school and has been spending time with teammates on weekends. Melanie said Axel seems like a different person without Nina's constant drama and manipulation in the house. Last week, Axel told Melanie that some of his friends at school had asked him about Nina and why she moved away so suddenly. Axel said he told his friends that Nina had been spreading lies about family members and that his parents decided it was better for her to live somewhere else. Axel said his friends understood and didn't ask for more details. Rowan has been doing better since setting boundaries with Nina. He still sends her financial support each month, but he no longer feels guilty about not having a close relationship with her. The counselor helped Rowan understand that protecting innocent people from Nina's lies is more important than maintaining a relationship built on enabling bad behavior. Melanie and I have grown closer through this experience. She has been honest about how difficult it was to accept that Nina was manipulative and dangerous. Melanie said she kept hoping Nina would change and become a better person, but she now understands that Nina's problems are too serious to ignore or excuse. Andrew and I closed on our new house last week. We're excited to have more space and a fresh start. We invited my parents, Melanie, Rowan, and Axel over for dinner this weekend to celebrate. It will be the first family gathering we've hosted since the incident with Nina, and we're looking forward to enjoying time together without worrying about drama or false accusations. The whole experience has taught our family valuable lessons about the importance of protecting innocent people from those who would lie and manipulate for personal gain. We learned that sometimes the kindest thing you can do is set firm boundaries with people who refuse to change their destructive behavior. Update 3. This will be my final update on the Nina situation. Several people have messaged me asking how things turned out, so I wanted to provide closure on this story. About 6 weeks ago, Nina's mother called Rowan with news that Nina had been expelled from her school in Oregon. According to the school administration, Nina had made another false accusation, this time against a male substitute teacher. Nina claimed the substitute teacher had made inappropriate comments to her during a study hall period. The school investigated Nina's claim thoroughly. They reviewed security camera footage from the classroom and hallway, interviewed other students who were present during the study hall, and spoke with the substitute teacher. The investigation revealed that Nina's accusation was completely false. The security footage showed that Nina and the substitute teacher had minimal interaction, and other students confirmed that nothing inappropriate had occurred. The school principal told Nina's mother that this was the final incident they would tolerate. Nina had already been on probation for spreading rumors about classmates and creating drama in her classes. The false accusation against the substitute teacher was the last straw. Nina was expelled immediately and banned from returning to any school in that district. Nina's mother was forced to enroll Nina in an online school program because no other local schools would accept a student who had been expelled for making false accusations. Nina's mother told Rowan that she was overwhelmed and didn't know how to handle Nina's behavior anymore. Rowan felt sorry for Nina's mother but maintained his boundaries. He told Nina's mother that he would continue sending financial support for Nina's basic needs, but he wouldn't get involved in finding solutions for problems caused by Nina's own actions. Rowan said Nina needed to face the natural consequences of her choices. 2 weeks after Nina was expelled, she called Rowan directly for the first time in months. Nina was crying and said she wanted to come back to live with Rowan and Melanie. She promised she had learned her lesson and would never lie again. She said living with her mother was making her depressed and that she missed being part of Rowan's family. Rowan listened to Nina's plea but remained firm in his decision. He told Nina that she had broken trust with too many people and that her pattern of false accusations made it impossible for her to return. Rowan explained that he had to protect his marriage, his stepson, and the rest of the family from further harm. Nina became angry when Rowan refused to let her move back. She accused Rowan of abandoning her and choosing strangers over his own daughter. Rowan reminded Nina that Melanie and Axel weren't strangers and that Nina had brought these consequences on herself through her own actions. Nina threatened to tell people that Rowan was an unfit father who didn't care about his daughter's well-being. Rowan calmly told Nina that he had documentation of her pattern of false accusations and that anyone who investigated would quickly learn the truth about why Nina wasn't living with him. The phone call ended with Nina hanging up on Rowan. She hasn't called him since then, though Rowan continues to send monthly financial support to Nina's mother for Nina's expenses. Axel graduated from high school last month with honors. He was accepted to 3 different colleges and chose to attend a state university about 2 hours from home. Rowan and Melanie are proud of Axel's achievements and grateful that he was able to focus on his studies without Nina's constant drama. During Axel's graduation party, several family members commented on how much happier and more relaxed everyone seemed without Nina around. Axel told Rowan that he had been afraid to bring friends over to the house when Nina lived there because he never knew what kind of scene she might create. Rowan and Melanie completed their couples counseling successfully. Their marriage has grown stronger through this experience. Rowan said he learned valuable lessons about the importance of knowing someone's full history before welcoming them into a family. Melanie said she learned to trust her instincts when someone's behavior doesn't seem right. My parents have maintained their position that Nina is not welcome at family gatherings. My dad said he has no regrets about that decision, especially after learning about Nina's continued pattern of false accusations. My mom said she feels sorry for Nina but believes that protecting innocent family members is more important than enabling destructive behavior. Andrew received another promotion at work and is now in a management position. We've settled into our new house and are expecting our first child this fall. We're excited about becoming parents and grateful that we won't have to worry about exposing our child to Nina's toxic behavior. Last month, I ran into Ashley, the mother who had called me about Nina's history in Oregon. Ashley told me that Nina's expulsion from school had been big news in their small community. Ashley said most parents were relieved that Nina was no longer around their children. Ashley also mentioned that Riley, her daughter who had been friends with Nina, was doing much better since cutting ties with Nina. Riley had been experiencing anxiety and self-doubt during her friendship with Nina because Nina would manipulate situations and make Riley question her own perceptions of events. The whole experience has shown our family how important it is to protect ourselves from people who lie and manipulate others for personal gain. We learned that giving someone multiple chances to change doesn't help them if they're not willing to take responsibility for their actions. Some people might think we were too harsh in our treatment of Nina, but I believe we made the right choice. Nina's continued pattern of false accusations proves that she hasn't learned from the consequences of her behavior. Maintaining a relationship with someone who refuses to change would have put innocent people at risk. Our family is happier, more peaceful, and stronger than ever. We focus our energy on relationships with people who are honest and trustworthy. We don't waste time trying to fix people who don't want to be fixed. Rowan still sends financial support to Nina each month because he believes parents have a responsibility to help their children meet basic needs. However, he has accepted that having a relationship with Nina isn't possible while she continues to lie and manipulate situations. I'm grateful for everyone who followed this story and offered support during a difficult time. Sometimes the hardest thing about protecting your family is accepting that you can't save everyone, especially those who don't want to be saved. Nina made her choices, and now she's living with the consequences. Our family made our choices too, and we're living with the peace and happiness that come from surrounding ourselves with honest, caring people. Now let's move to the next story. Story 2. I discovered my wife's 3-year affair with our neighbor and found out he's the real father of our 2-year-old daughter. Now he wants custody. I, 35M, just found out my wife Laura, 33F, has been cheating on me with our neighbor Tom, 37M, for the last 3 years. Even worse, I discovered that Tom is actually the biological father of our younger daughter Haley, 2F. I'm completely devastated and don't know what to do. Laura and I met in college 15 years ago. We were both studying business and had several classes together. At first, we were just friends, often studying together and hanging out in the same group. But over time, our relationship grew into something more. We started dating in our junior year and things just clicked. After graduation, we both got jobs in the same city and moved in together. We got married 5 years later, when we were 25 and 23. It was a small ceremony with just close family and friends. We were so happy and excited to start our lives together. We both wanted kids, but decided to wait a few years to establish our careers first. When we were ready, we tried for a while but had some difficulty conceiving. It was a stressful time, with doctor's appointments and fertility treatments. But finally, after almost a year of trying, Laura got pregnant with our daughter Emma. Emma's birth was the happiest day of my life. She was perfect, with Laura's blue eyes and my dark hair. I took 2 weeks off work to help Laura adjust to motherhood. Those first few months were exhausting but amazing. Watching Emma grow and develop new skills was incredible. When Emma was about 4, we decided we were ready for another child. This time, Laura got pregnant quickly and easily. We were thrilled to be expanding our family. Haley was born 2 years ago, and our family felt complete. We moved into our current neighborhood about 4 years ago, just before Haley was born. That's when we first met Tom and his wife Rachel, 35F. They lived 2 houses down from us and seemed like a nice couple. Tom works in IT and Rachel is a teacher. They didn't have any kids, but we found out later they had been trying unsuccessfully for years. At first, we just exchanged friendly waves and small talk when we saw each other outside. But over time, we started hanging out more. We'd have cookouts in each other's backyards, or get together to watch football games. Our kids loved playing with their dog. Tom and Rachel even babysat for us a few times when Laura and I wanted a date night. I considered Tom a good friend. We'd often grab beers together after work or on weekends. He seemed like a stand-up guy. I never suspected anything was going on between him and Laura. About 6 months ago, I started noticing some changes in Laura's behavior. She was spending more time on her phone, being secretive about her messages, and going out more often without explanation. At first I tried not to think much of it, figuring she was just busy with work or needed some time to herself. But as the weeks went on, I got more and more suspicious. She'd get dressed up to go grocery shopping or have long phone conversations in another room. When I'd ask who she was talking to, she'd say it was just work stuff. A few times, I came home early from work to find her scrambling to close browser windows on her laptop. I tried to talk to her about it, ask if everything was okay. But she'd just say I was being paranoid and that nothing was going on. I wanted to trust her, but something felt off. Last week, I finally decided to check Laura's phone while she was in the shower. I know it was an invasion of privacy, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. What I found was far worse than I ever imagined. There were hundreds of intimate texts and photos exchanged between her and Tom going back almost 3 years. They had pet names for each other and talked about how much they loved each other. There were messages coordinating meetups while I was at work or out of town. They even had a code word they'd text each other when they wanted to hook up. But the worst part was yet to come. As I kept reading through their messages, I came across one from around the time Haley was conceived where Laura told Tom she was pregnant and that the baby was definitely his. There were follow-up messages about how they needed to be careful so I wouldn't suspect anything, and how Tom wished he could claim the baby as his own. My daughter, who I've loved and raised for the past 2 years, isn't even mine biologically. Every memory I have of her birth, her first steps, her first words, it's all tainted now. I feel like my whole life for the past 3 years has been a lie. I confronted Laura as soon as she got out of the shower. At first she tried to deny everything, saying I was misunderstanding things. But when I showed her the messages she broke down crying and admitted it was all true. She begged me to forgive her and said she would end things with Tom, but I was too angry and hurt to even consider it. I told her to get out and that I wanted a divorce. Laura left to stay with her sister. I told her not to come back until I figured out what I wanted to do. She's been calling and texting constantly, begging for another chance. But I just can't see how I could ever trust her again after such a massive betrayal that went on for years. The past few days have been a complete nightmare. I've barely been able to eat or sleep. I can't stop thinking about all the times we spent with Tom and his family, knowing now that he and Laura were sneaking around behind my back that whole time. I feel like such an idiot for not realizing what was going on. I haven't told anyone else about the situation yet. Emma is confused about why Mommy suddenly left and keeps asking when she's coming home. I've just been telling her that Mommy had to go away for work for a while. I have no idea what to do about Haley. Even though she's not mine biologically, I still love her and have raised her as my own for the past 2 years. But every time I look at her now I'm reminded of Laura's betrayal. Tom's wife Rachel deserves to know the truth, but I'm not sure if I should be the one to tell her or how to even approach the conversation. Part of me wants to confront Tom and beat the crap out of him, but I know that won't actually solve anything. I'm meeting with a lawyer next week to discuss my options for divorce and custody. I definitely want primary custody of Emma, but I'm torn about what to do regarding Haley. Legally I'm still her father since I'm on the birth certificate, but knowing she's not biologically mine makes things more complicated. Laura has been blowing up my phone begging for another chance, saying it was a mistake and that she still loves me. But I don't see how I could ever trust her again after such a massive betrayal that went on for years. Tom has also tried reaching out, probably to do damage control, but I've ignored all his messages so far. I'm angry, hurt, and completely lost about what to do next. How do I even begin to move forward from something like this? Should I try to maintain a relationship with Haley even though she's not biologically mine? Do I tell Rachel about the affair or let Tom deal with that? Any advice would be appreciated because right now I feel like my entire life has fallen apart. Update 1: It's been about 2 weeks since I found out about Laura's affair with Tom and that he's Haley's biological father. A lot has happened since then and I wanted to give an update. First, I ended up telling Rachel, Tom's wife, about the affair. I felt she deserved to know the truth, even if it wasn't my place to tell her. I invited her over to my place while Tom was at work and showed her the text messages I had found. She was absolutely devastated, even more so when she learned that Haley was actually Tom's daughter. Apparently they had been struggling with infertility for years and had just started looking into IVF options. Rachel told me they had been trying to have a baby for their entire 10-year marriage. They had gone through multiple rounds of fertility treatments, all of which failed. It had put a huge strain on their relationship and finances. Finding out her husband had fathered a child with someone else while she was going through all that was a huge blow. Rachel left Tom immediately after finding out. She's staying with her sister for now while she figures out her next steps. Tom tried to beg for forgiveness but she wasn't having any of it. I actually feel bad for her. She's collateral damage in this whole mess through no fault of her own. As for Laura, she's still trying to convince me to give her another chance. She keeps saying it was a mistake, that she loves me and wants to work things out for our family. She claims the affair just happened and that she never meant to hurt me. But I just can't get past the years of lying and sneaking around. Plus, the fact that she deliberately got pregnant by another man and passed the child off as mine for 2 years is unforgivable in my eyes. Laura has tried to explain her reasons for the affair. She said she felt neglected and unappreciated in our marriage. Apparently Tom made her feel desired and important in a way that I wasn't. She also said that after having Emma, she worried that I saw her more as a mother than a woman. Tom apparently made her feel sexy and wanted again. I'll admit that our marriage wasn't perfect. We both got caught up in work and parenting and maybe didn't put as much effort into our relationship as we should have. But that's no excuse for cheating, let alone carrying on a years-long affair and getting pregnant by another man. I've told Laura firmly that reconciliation is not an option and that I'm moving forward with the divorce. She's devastated, but I think she's finally starting to accept that it's over. She's moved most of her things out of the house and is staying with her sister for now. I met with a lawyer and we're in the process of filing for divorce. I'm pushing for primary custody of Emma. The situation with Haley is more complicated. Legally, I'm still her father since I'm on the birth certificate, but Tom could potentially challenge that given he's the biological father. For now, I'm including her in the custody arrangement because regardless of biology, I've been her dad for the past 2 years and I do love her. But I'm not sure what the long-term solution will be. Tom has tried reaching out to me multiple times to explain and apologize. I finally agreed to meet with him, mostly to discuss the Haley situation. It did not go well. He tried to justify the affair by saying he and Laura had a real connection and that I wasn't meeting her needs. He claimed they never meant for it to go on so long or for Laura to get pregnant. I nearly punched him when he had the audacity to say he considered me a friend and never meant to hurt me. This is a guy who came over to my house, played with my kids, drank beers with me, all while sleeping with my wife behind my back. I told him exactly what I thought of him and his fake friendship. In the end, I told Tom to stay the hell away from me and my family, and that any communication regarding Haley would go through our lawyers from now on. He tried to argue that he had a right to be in Haley's life as her biological father, but I shut that down quick. As far as I'm concerned, he gave up any right to call himself her father when he chose to let me raise her as my own for 2 years. The hardest part has been explaining the situation to Emma. She's old enough to realize something major is happening but too young to fully understand. I've tried to keep things vague, just telling her that mommy and daddy aren't going to be living together anymore. She's been having a hard time with it though, lots of tears and tantrums. She doesn't understand why she can't see mommy as much anymore or why daddy seems so sad all the time. I'm trying my best to maintain her routine and sense of stability, but it's not easy. Laura and I are doing custody exchanges through a neutral third party to minimize contact and drama in front of Emma. We're also looking into family therapy to help Emma process everything in an age-appropriate way. I'm still processing everything emotionally. Some days I'm consumed by anger, other days I just feel numb. I've started seeing a therapist to try to work through it all. Friends and family have been supportive, but unless you've been through something like this it's hard to truly understand how it feels. The range of emotions is overwhelming: anger at Laura and Tom for their betrayal, sadness at the loss of the life I thought I had, fear and uncertainty about the future, guilt over whether I could have done something to prevent this, love for my girls mixed with pain when I look at Haley. It's a lot to process. For now, I'm just trying to take things day by day and focus on being there for my girls. I'm throwing myself into work and spending as much quality time with Emma and Haley as I can. Their smiles and laughter are sometimes the only things getting me through the day. The future is still very uncertain, especially regarding Haley's situation, but I'm doing my best to stay strong and make the best decisions I can for my family. Any advice on how to move forward or handle the custody situation would be greatly appreciated. Update 2: It's been about 2 months since my last update, and unfortunately things have only gotten more complicated. The biggest development is that Tom is now seeking custody of Haley. His wife Rachel filed for divorce and is taking him for everything she can, so I think he's trying to assert his rights as Haley's biological father partly to spite her. He claims he wants to be involved in Haley's life and step up as her real dad. I'm furious about this. Tom had no interest in acknowledging Haley as his daughter until his own life started falling apart. Now suddenly he wants to play dad? I've been the one raising her for the past 2 years, changing diapers, soothing her crying, loving her as my own. The thought of potentially losing her to Tom makes me sick. My lawyer says I have a decent case to maintain custody since I'm the legal father on the birth certificate and have been acting as Haley's dad since birth. But Tom being the biological father does complicate things. We're headed for a custody battle and it's going to get ugly. Tom's lawyer sent over some initial custody proposals. He's pushing for joint legal and physical custody, with Haley spending equal time at both houses. There's no way in hell I'm agreeing to that. Haley doesn't even know Tom as anything other than our neighbor. Suddenly spending half her time with him would be confusing and traumatic for her. We had our first mediation session last week to try to work out a custody agreement. It did not go well. Tom kept talking about his parental rights and how he wants to make up for lost time with his daughter. I pointed out that he willingly gave up those rights when he chose to let me raise Haley as my own for 2 years. If he really cared about being her father, he would have stepped up from the beginning instead of lying and sneaking around. The mediator tried to get us to find some middle ground, but we're too far apart. Tom wants 50-50 custody, while I don't want him to have any custody at all. We couldn't agree on anything, so now we're headed to court. I'm trying to prepare myself for a long and nasty legal battle. My lawyer says we have a strong case given that I'm the only father Haley has ever known. But family court can be unpredictable, especially in cases involving biological versus legal parents. I'm terrified of losing Haley or having to share her with Tom. Laura is actually siding with me in the custody dispute, saying she wants me to remain Haley's primary father figure. I think she realizes how badly she screwed up and is trying to make amends. But I don't trust her motivations. For all I know, she could be trying to manipulate me into reconciling. Speaking of Laura, she's still pushing for us to try marriage counseling and work things out. She even ambushed me with a counselor one day when I went to pick up the girls' things. I shut that down real quick and told her to stop trying. There's no coming back from what she did. Laura claims she's realized how much she loves me and our family, and that the affair was the biggest mistake of her life. She says she'll do anything to save our marriage. But as far as I'm concerned, our marriage ended the moment she chose to sleep with Tom. The years of lying and betrayal are too much to come back from. Emma is still having a hard time with everything. Her teachers have reported she's acting out in school and her grades are slipping. She's become very clingy with me and has frequent meltdowns, especially around custody exchanges. I've gotten her into play therapy to try to help her process things in an age-appropriate way. It kills me to see how this situation is affecting her. Haley is still too young to really understand what's going on, but I think she senses the tension. She's been having more tantrums lately and is very resistant to change in her routine. I'm doing my best to maintain stability for her, but with the looming custody battle I'm worried about how it will affect her. As for me, I'm hanging in there, but some days are really tough. I'm trying to stay busy with work and focusing on the girls, but the anger and pain are still very raw. I've had a few nights where I drank way too much trying to numb the feelings. I know that's not a healthy coping mechanism though, so I'm making an effort to cut back. I've been trying to take better care of myself physically and mentally. I joined a gym and have been working out regularly to burn off some of the stress and anger. I've also been trying to eat healthier and get enough sleep, though that's not always easy with everything going on. The one bright spot is that I've been getting closer with Rachel, Tom's soon-to-be ex-wife, through all this. We've been meeting up for coffee regularly to vent and support each other as we navigate our divorces. It's nice to have someone who truly understands what I'm going through. To be clear, there's nothing romantic there, we're just friends supporting each other through a difficult time. Rachel has been a great source of support and information. She's shared some details about her marriage to Tom that have helped me understand the situation better. Apparently Tom has a history of infidelity. Laura wasn't his first affair. Rachel found out about a previous affair a few years ago but chose to forgive him and try to work things out. Now she feels like a fool for giving him a second chance. So that's where things stand for now. The divorce proceedings are moving forward and we have a custody hearing scheduled for next month. I'm trying to stay hopeful that I'll be able to maintain custody of both girls, but I'm also bracing myself for a long and nasty legal battle ahead. Update 3: It's been about 6 months since this whole nightmare began, and I wanted to give one final update on the situation. The divorce from Laura was finalized last month. In the end, we agreed on joint custody of Emma with me having primary physical custody. Laura gets her every other weekend and one night during the week for dinner. It's not ideal, but it's what's best for Emma to maintain a relationship with both parents. As for Haley, that situation turned out to be even more of a mess. The custody battle with Tom dragged on for months, with multiple hearings and evaluations. We had to do DNA tests to officially establish paternity, even though we all knew the results. There were home studies, interviews with a court-appointed guardian ad litem for Haley, and psychological evaluations for all the adults involved. In the end, the judge ruled that Tom and I would share joint legal and physical custody. Haley will primarily live with me, but Tom gets her 2 weekends a month and 1 evening a week. The judge said that while Tom is the biological father, I've been Haley's primary caregiver and the only father she's known, so it's in her best interest to maintain that stability. I'm not thrilled about Tom being in Haley's life, but I'm trying to make the best of it for her sake. We're doing exchanges through a neutral third party to minimize contact between us. Tom seems to be taking the dad role seriously so far, but I'm staying vigilant. We have very strict rules about communication and decision-making for Haley. The hardest part has been explaining to Haley, in age-appropriate terms, who Tom is and why she'll be spending time with him. She's still too young to fully understand the concept of biological versus legal parents. For now, we're just calling Tom her special friend and saying that she gets to have 2 dads who love her very much. It's not perfect, but it's the best we could come up with for now. Laura has finally stopped pushing for reconciliation and seems to have accepted that our marriage is over for good. She started seeing someone new, which stung at first, but I'm trying to be mature about it. We're working on co-parenting civilly for the girl's sake. It's not always easy, but we're both trying to put our personal feelings aside and focus on what's best for Emma and Haley. Emma is doing better with the new routine. The play therapy has really helped her process everything. Her grades have improved and she's back to her usual happy self most of the time. She still has moments of sadness about the divorce, but overall she's adjusting well. She's even started to form a relationship with Tom, which is bittersweet for me to watch. Haley is too young to really understand what's going on, but she seems to be handling the back and forth between houses okay. She's always excited to see Tom, which hurts sometimes, but I know it's good for her. I'm dreading the day when she's old enough to learn the full truth about her parentage, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. As for me, I'm slowly healing and moving forward with my life. I've started casually dating again, though I'm taking things very slow. I'm not ready for anything serious yet, but it's nice to get out there and remember that there are other fish in the sea. Rachel and I are still good friends. She's been a great support through everything. We get together regularly to catch up and commiserate about our ex-spouses. It's nice to have someone who understands exactly what I'm going through. Financially, things have been tough with all the legal fees from the divorce and custody battle. I had to dip into my savings and take on some extra work to make ends meet. But I'm slowly getting back on track and building up my finances again. I won't say I'm fully over what happened, but I'm in a much better place than I was 6 months ago. The pain and anger aren't as raw anymore. I still have moments where it all hits me again, but they're becoming less frequent. My focus now is on being the best dad I can be to my girls and building a happy life for us. It's not the life I thought I'd have, but I'm making the best of it. The girls are my world and seeing them happy and thriving despite everything we've been through gives me strength. This will be my final update. Thank you to everyone who offered support and advice throughout this ordeal. If nothing else, I hope my story can serve as a cautionary tale about the devastating impact of infidelity. To anyone going through something similar, it does get better. It's a long and painful process, but you will come out the other side stronger.